The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Earnestly podcast coming to you on September 22nd, 2022. How you guys doing? I'm here recording. Empty house now, as both my kids are in school currently, so I don't have to pick up for 2 hours. So, very nice, beautiful, quiet Thursday afternoon here in the Christian residence. My wife's out of town for a day or so, and went up to Orlando to Disney World to celebrate the birthday of her best friend. So, anyway, how you guys doing? A lot to get to. I don't want to waste any time because there's a lot of stuff on the dock I want to get to on this pod. I want to keep it to about 40 to 45 minutes on this episode. I try to keep it as condensed and short as possible. I know a lot of people don't like long pods unless it's a conversation and all that. So, obviously we're head first into football. Of course, if you haven't checked out the Football's Awesome podcast that we do on this feed every single week, Tuesdays or Wednesdays, the drops, depending on time I get the last segment of Zach's segment done. The degenerate, of course. Drop those like Tuesday nights or Wednesday morning at midnight. We're head first to football. And obviously, you would think that, okay, well, since I did some football already this week, I'm done talking about football. Not really, because I got to take some of my own. I want to get out there, And I mean, yes, there's space on there to do that, but this is the time of year where content is so important. It's so much to talk about. There's things that you don't want to forget, and there's things that I could have talked about on the Football's Awesome pod that I did not talk about today on the show. I'm talking about the show today. So, title of the show, you see, is 17-0 possible? I'm going to say, who is that referring to, EJ? Well, obviously, there are 6 undefeated teams right now in the NFL. You have the Bills. You have the Giants, of course. My Giants, that's shocking. You have the Dolphins. You have the Buccaneers. You have, who am I missing? The Eagles. And I'm going off the top of my head here. There are 6 teams that are undefeated. Okay? I'm missing one. The Chiefs. Duh, the Chiefs. The team I right now think is the second best team in football right now. But this actually applies to one team, not to the 6, to one team, and that is the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills have come out the gate running hot. They opened the year, week 1, with a dominating effort against the defending Super Bowl champions, LA Rams. And I said that's even with turning the ball over 4 times. Dominating effort there. Then in week 2 on Monday night, this past Monday, dominating the team that wasn't number 1 seed in the AFC last year, the Tennessee Titans, who, of course, I said that they didn't have a major step back this year. So I can't take full credit for this topic here because Mikey B, who does the power rankings with me on this Football's Awesome podcast every week, he brought this up actually on the podcast last week about the possibility of the Bills running the table. Now, there's only been one team that has gone from pillar to post from the week 1 to the Super Bowl, and that is the 1972 Miami Dolphins. Okay, so this is something that this is not something that's actually very common. Now, the team that came closest to that was in 2007, the New England Patriots, which they went 16-0 into the regular season, won 2 playoff games, and were minutes from winning the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 42. Of course, thank God it didn't happen because it happened against my Giants. They lost that game. So obviously, going unbeaten is very tough in the NFL. I don't think will happen again. But it does bear for me. The reason why I want to bring this up now, because I may have the opportunity to bring this up again, in this case of the Bills, because they played Miami Dolphins this weekend, and it's a possibility they might lose that game too. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to lose the game. In fact, I think they'll win, but it's a possibility. So you can't bring it up now, because they have looked, of any team in the NFL, and including the 6 unbeaten teams, they have looked the most dominant out the gate. Okay, again, you're beating the Super Bowl champions on the road. Okay, and then you're beating the team that wasn't the 1 seed in the AFC last year in the Tennessee Titans. Obviously, you got to look at that. So, whoa, okay, this team is a problem. This team's on a mission. And I mean, again, they were dominant in both games, both sides of the ball. So, for the sake of argument, for the sake of conversation, because again, we're just having a conversation. This is obviously, people are gonna say, well, what are you doing? It's only week 2. You got another, and not only that, you have now. This is now a 17-week season now plus playoffs. So why do you push this narrative? Well, this is my show. I do what the hell I want. It's my fucking show. But for the reason why this came up last week with Mikey was because if you look at their schedule, actually, it is actually interesting to see because there isn't much hiccups on paper anyway. Again, on paper, there isn't a lot of hiccups on the schedule that you can say, oh, okay. So I went through the schedule with Mikey last week, and then after this week's game, I was like, not saying he will do this. And for the record, let me ask you, I'll answer the question right now. I don't think it will happen because even if you don't lose to the tough teams in the schedule, there might be a team there that they may sleep on one week and it doesn't happen. But their schedule at least warrants a little bit of a discussion. A little bit of discussion. Again, give me all you want about it. That's fine. I don't care. So obviously this is going to be a tough game against Miami this week. Okay. Then you got Baltimore next week in Baltimore. So I got two road games in Miami and Baltimore. So there could be a hiccup there. But, I mean, assuming they get through that. You got Pittsburgh at home. That should be a win. Then the big one in Kansas City in mid-October. Again, another hiccup. Possible loss there. Okay? Then you got Green Bay at home. Look, you got Aaron Rodgers, but I think Buffalo right now is head and shoulders better than Green Bay right now, honestly. So that should be a win. Then he goes to the Jets. Come on, that's a win for the Bills. Then you got the Browns at home. That should be a win. The Lions on the road. Lions are frisky. We get that. They're frisky. And also that's the Thanksgiving game as well too. But that should be a win. Then New England, the Patriots, of course, on the road at Foxborough. Again, divisional games. The Pats are kind of weird right now, 1-1. They should beat the Patriots, but who knows? The Jets at home should be a win. Dolphins at home should be the win. We'll see how the Miami looks at that point in the year. At Chicago on Christmas Eve, that's a win. Then the Bengals in 2023 on the road. Now, since he's 0-2 right now, so we'll see if are they as bad as they look right now. I mean, I think they're better than the 0-2 record, but we'll see how they look in Week 17. And then the Pats at home at Week number 18. Look, I don't think it's going to happen. If I'm betting the Bills versus the field, I'm taking the field, obviously. But this is a schedule that's actually, if we're playing, this for the sake of argument here, it's not a schedule that I would say is not impossible to do that. But again, you add in the pressures of not just going in the schedule, but also teams are going to be, once you're 10-0, 11-0, 12-0, even the lesser teams want to take a shot at you. We saw that even the Patriots in 2007 when they got to the end. Forget the fact they lost the Super Bowl, but even at the end, they had some close calls. Remember that game against Baltimore Monday Night Football where they came close to losing that game? And that Baltimore team wasn't that good. That team, I think, if I'm not mistaken, won 6-10 that year. So, again, I'm going to obviously take the field on this one, but is it impossible to at least let it go through your head? And again, I credit Mike B for bringing up this topic last week on the Football's Awesome podcast. But also ESPN is not running this thing too. I think I saw this on the on Get Up with Greeny on Tuesday. They're talking about the 17-0 thing, which again, way too early. I agree. I know people are gonna say, "What are you doing, dude? Why are you even bringing this up in the first place?" And I get it. I totally get it. But it's just a discussion. We're just having a conversation. That's all. And it gives you the opportunity to run through the schedule also as well. So look, are they gonna do it? No, I don't think so. I'll take the field. But this is what I will say with the schedule though. Forget 17-0. And I've been saying this now, coming to the year, that home field advantage, I think, home field advantage in the NFL is somewhat overrated, but for certain teams, it isn't. I always say Arrowhead for Kansas City is a major home field advantage. That crowd is nuts, especially when they're playing in the playoffs. The Superdome in New Orleans, nuts. Other places, Foxborough, big advantage for years, okay? The Buffalo Bills, 30 years. Obviously, we don't know this because the Bills have been mostly bad for most of my life. But I do remember a time when the Bills were going to 4 Super Bowls, and that was a major home field advantage for the Bills back in the early 90s. It was one of the reasons why they catapulted to 4 straight Super Bowl appearances. Back in 1992, 1993. If the Bills Mafia, they run hard. The Bills Mafia ain't playing around. If the Buffalo Bills, and look, I think they're going to Super Bowl regardless, even if they're a 2 seed in the AFC, in my opinion, right? Anyway, but if they are the number 1 seed in the AFC this year, forget it. To me, it's almost over because it's almost impossible to win there, especially when they're good, and that crowd is going to be a problem. The Buffalo Bills fan base, Buffalo Bills Mafia is, I'll go ahead and say it, and I've been saying this for years. Top 5 fan base in the NFL. And this is even when they were bad. Very loyal, very loud, and when they're good, oh my gosh. And as we were saying on Football's Awesome with Mikey, are there enough tables to be broken? Enough tables to buy now? Because they don't play around, man. Those fans are hardcore, and when they are actually good, especially too, we go back to the '90s. We go into now. When they're good, they are virtually impossible to beat. I think the only team that has a chance at beating Buffalo in New York, in Buffalo, is probably Kansas City. And also don't forget the conditions too. It's cold there. It'll be cold at that point of the year too. They're already used to that. You may have blizzards there. Maybe you've seen games in the past, the playoff games in the past where the Bills have won playoff games. Even with the weather being compromised and whatnot. That's a major advantage. So you have the weather. You also have the the fan base, very loud fan base. Just saying, it's something that I will not put on the table. Look, I don't think they're going 17-0 at all, but I think, as I said, but I did say also on my prediction show, coming to the year, that their floor, in my opinion, was 14-3. The floor, not just the best record, the floor, which means I think they'll be dominant no matter what. Even if they lose 2 games, 3 games, 1 game, they're maybe going unbeaten for that matter. They're going to be a number 1 seed in the AFC. I just don't see any reason why Buffalo can't win the conference, and I think they'll. I think they'll win. I think right now, barring any injuries between now and then, I think if I'm picking right now a month away from the game itself, I'm picking Buffalo over Kansas City, even in Arrowhead. That's simple. I was going to write this actually on my Substack. By the way, check it out, earnestlyspeaking.substack.com. I was going to write this up a couple days ago, but again, I haven't had any time to do anything because, my wife's out of town for a couple of days. So I'm playing Mr. Mom now, here. So if I get time to record a podcast or some of that nature, or even get some rest, I'm gonna do that. And again, writing, I love writing, but it's also time consuming. But if you saw Monday football, the Monday football game, there was 2 actually, but the other game, Eagles and Vikings, man, the Eagles look fantastic. Jalen Hurts looks amazing. The Eagles, you look at the NFC especially, and you start talking about positioning. And I said this on the podcast last week, but it bears now repeating today because, again, we're only 2 weeks into the year, so things can happen, injuries can happen, a lot of things that could change in the weeks to come. But you look at the environment of the NFC rather. Okay, obviously I was saying coming to the year that the LA Rams should run away with the NFC number 1 seed. But 2 weeks in, 1-1, 2 weeks in, they don't look like the same team from last year. Is it a hangover? Is there injuries? Is Matthew Stafford's elbow an issue still? Who knows? Well, this is what I do know. And this is what I'm saying right now, going to week 3. And I hate to say this as a guy who's a New York Giants fan. I hate to admit this. But the Eagles right now have the inside track on the number 1 seed in the NFC. And for one reason only. That's schedule. They're playing their own division, which means you get the Giants 2 more times, you're getting the Cowboys twice, you're getting the Commodores twice, or the Commanders. I keep calling them Commodores because whatever. So they can easily go at least 4-2 to 5-1 in that division. Okay, even the Giants being 2-0, I get that. That's 5 wins there. They already got 2 wins on the board. That's 7 wins there. They played AFC South this year, who right now obviously is the worst division of football right now. So they can easily win 3 games there. Okay, they should win 3 games, at least 3 games there. That's 10 wins right there for the Eagles. Okay, then you're playing NFC North, which right now your toughest teams you're playing in that division. Now, granted, Detroit. Now they beat Detroit already, so that's out of the way. Still got Green Bay, who's obviously we'll see how the Packers look in the weeks to come. Minnesota, who they just beat, so that's out the way too. On top of that, and then Chicago. So you looking at a possibility of having a win or 2 there. Okay, that's 11 wins there. The NFC does not look very dominant up the gate. Tampa looks a little shaky, despite being 2-0. Their offense looks a little shaky, although the defense right now is probably tops in the league. It's very interesting because I look at this. It all comes on the schedules. There's a space there in the middle for teams that may not be good to steal wild card. I can argue now there's a space now for the number 1 CB wide open now, but especially with the Rams now not being as good as we thought they were going to be. The Rams aren't as good as we thought they were going to be this year. Again, 2 weeks in, we'll see how it plays out. But I'm just talking based on what we see going forward. The Eagles, in my opinion, do have the inside track on number 1 seed in the NFC, and their O-line's great. Jalen Hurts is getting better. The defense is really good. Gotta give it to the coach Nick Sirianni. He's done a great job there so far. It's like give the devil its due sometimes. The Eagles are a problem. Now, are they the favorites to win to go to the Super Bowl? That I'll hold on because again, we'll see how teams look throughout the year. Injuries play a factor in that, but man, the Eagles look very scary right now, and I wouldn't want to play them right now. I want to play them. I mean, you saw Minnesota got dominated this past week, and we'll see how that goes, man. But like I said, a lot of football ahead of us here, but the Eagles look like right now probably the best team in the conference right now. So with that, I want to go ahead and reveal right now my top 5 most disappointing teams right now through 2 weeks in the NFL. I like doing top 5, so I figured I'd do a top 5. In the moment, how I feel right now. This is fluid. I might do this again probably a couple weeks. But right now, number 5 for me is the Washington Commanders. Now, me being foolish, I did have them going to the playoffs as the last wild card this year. Look, it's still in play. The NFC is wide open. It's wide open across the board. So it's still in play. Carson Wentz has looked okay for most looked really good in week 1. Week 2 had moments, but again, losing Detroit, maybe Detroit's the other team, who knows? But the Commanders, had a chance to, really, they win that game in Detroit last week. That's 2-0 now, and you're in a situation where you can make some noise going forward, and that's a lot of confidence there for your team going forward. So you can't lose those games. So the Commanders are still a little disappointing right now for me out the gate. And selfishly for me, too, I think it's also the fact that because I picked them to go to the playoffs, I think maybe that's why I'm leaning on that a little bit. Number 4, most disappointing team for me so far is the Denver Broncos. Yes, they're 1-1, but they should be 2-0. They should have beaten Seattle's ass, last week without a problem. Again, fumbling the ball on the goal line twice. A coach right now, I gotta say it, Nathaniel Hackett does not look like he knows what the fuck he's doing. He looks like a guy that's can't hack it, if you will. That's a problem. Okay, so the Broncos are me number 4, most disappointing team out the gate. Russell Wilson's been okay for the most part, but yeah, and look, the Houston game they won. I know they 1-1, but they should have dominated Houston. They should have covered the spread too, especially on that one. So whatever, that's another one there. My number 3 most disappointing team right now so far out the gate, the Indianapolis Colts. Now, they're lucky not to be 0-2. They're 0-1-1. Again, I spoke about this on Football's Awesome podcast, that the Jacksonville thing is a thing now, not winning Jacksonville in 8 years. The last time they won there was when Obama was president. It's a real thing. And it's disappointing, too, because that's a return to the scene in a crime where last year, losing there cost them their playoff lives, right? Cost them playoff lives. Okay, you go back there early in the year for this next season. You're thinking revenge. Players who played on that team last year, one point was revenge. And not only you lose to Jacksonville there, a division rival, you get shut out. Embarrassing. That's embarrassing. So to me, the Colts are the number 3 most disappointing team out the gate so far. And to boot, they play the Chiefs this weekend. So, and the way the Chiefs look right now, that's almost a guaranteed loss for the Colts there, even at home. Number 2. I'm not surprised with this one. This is probably number 1, but I'm going to say number 2. The Cincinnati Bengals. The AFC champions. What's going on? What's going on, guys? You guys should be, obviously, coming off the Super Bowl hangover. I get that. Should be the Steelers last week. Ugly game. Okay. But then you play Dallas without Dak Prescott, and you don't get going too late in the game, and then you still give up the loss at the end to the Cowboys. You guys look like you have a hangover. What's going on? You guys look like you've, okay, AFC champions, let's go. We're good. What's going on? Now, the only reason I put number 1 is that they played, in my opinion, 2 of the best defenses in football the last 2 weeks. Pittsburgh's defense is elite. I keep on saying this after decades of them being bad at this spot, but the Dallas Cowboys defense is elite. When you got Micah Parsons, when you got Diggs in the secondary, and they're playing and they're keeping them in games. I gotta give Cowboys defense credit there. The Bengals play some elite defense out the gate. But again, you told me that your O-line was better. You guys told us that the O-line is fixed. You guys made a Super Bowl last year with a bad O-line, and now we were told that the O-line is good enough now to compete and to go back to Super Bowl and maybe win a Super Bowl next year. Well, 2 weeks in, you're failing. Now, that being said, I do think the Bengals will right the ship this week, and I think they will beat the Jets this week. You'll see my picks this week. I think they right the ship this week because they better. Can't fall 0-3, you know what I'm saying? But number one for me is the team I had picked to win the AFC West. I had the Las Vegas Raiders 0-2. Wow. And look, the loss against the Chargers, I picked that. It had a chance to win the game late. So whatever. That's no big deal. But the way you lost to Arizona last week, you're up 20-0 at halftime, up 23-7 in the fourth quarter at home. Arizona, we don't even know how good they are still. Even with the win last week, I don't even know how good they are still. But you let Kyler Murray punk you in your own stadium? Really? We doing that now? Like, come on, man. So that right there, very concerning. And especially in a division and conference that right now is stacked to the gills. Okay? Stacked to the gills. Okay? Even with the Broncos being struggling in the AFC West, they're still 1-1. You're behind the ball 0-2. Forget the division now. Look at the Chiefs, 2-0 already. The Chargers are 1-1, but fair to say the Chargers are better than you guys now at this point. They already beat you guys, crying out loud. So again, you are right now my most disappointing team right now in the league through 2 weeks. Again, you got time to turn it around, but again, I think the AFC West is out of the question for them at this point. Get to the wild card at least. You know what I'm saying? Get to the wild card. So, with that being said, let's get to the thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do some old school, some music here. Let's get to my picks of the week, my best bets, my gambling bets. Let's go to hit the music first off. I am what? 2-3 last week. I'm 5-5 for the year, so a little bit of a shaky start for me out the gate. Got a lot of work to do there. But let's get to the first game. And I'm hoping. By the way, I did these spreads. I did the Edith Degenerate on Pujols Awesome this past week, and I gotta tell you, Vegas nailed these spreads, man. They nailed it. They made it tough for me. And in the overall spectrum of our picks, I picked a lot of over-unders because the spreads didn't feel good to me out the gate. So, first game I'm feeling good about. Buffalo coming to Miami face the Dolphins. The Bills are 5.5-point favorites. The over-under 53.5. Give me the over. I see a high-scoring game here. Look, I think the Bills are going to win this game, but I see this being a back-and-forth game right now, to be honest with you. It's in Miami. It's in the heat. No, it's hot down here right now. Maybe look, we got a lot of rain here this game, too. Maybe some rain in that game. Who knows? But I can see this being a competitive game. The Dolphins, look, Tua looked great week 2. So you got to give him credit there. But ultimately, the Buffalo Bills are the better team. So I can see I can even see the Bills winning pretty much slightly, winning where they cover, and then like Miami has a late score late, and they cover the 5.5. So that's why I stay with from the point. So give me the over on this game at 3.5. The next game here, Detroit Lions. I like the Detroit Lions this week in Minnesota, facing the Vikings. Come up with a tough loss. The Lions right now are playing good football. The other came back against Philadelphia week 1. Dominated the Commanders week 2. They're going to Minnesota against a familiar opponent. Man Campbell has them playing well. I like +6 Detroit this week. I think the Detroit Lions will keep this game close. Look, I don't think they'll win the game, although it would not shock me to win the game. But give me the Lions on the points here. I think the Lions is a competitive spirit now. Just something you don't want to mess with them now. Next game here, I like the Bengals finally got the schneid, and to not only win in New York as the Jets, but to cover 4.5 points. I think the Bengals are going to feel the pressure here. Obviously, they're 0-2 in the division now, behind by a game in the division. They need this game badly. I think Joe Burrow and company will finally get going after that this week. They will win that game against the Jets. Ooh, really? Let's be real here. Let's be real. The Jets got lucky against the Browns. The Browns browned. Okay? The Browns always brown. Okay? No matter how good they are, they always find a way to screw it up. So give me the Bengals here to get right the ship here in New York against the Jets, and that's just that. Now the game I consider the second, to me, people see the best game of the week. I think the second biggest game of the week, honestly. I think the Bucs are going to win, even without Mike Evans. Are going to win against Green Bay. I still don't know how good Green Bay is. Still, I still don't know. I really don't know. But what I do know is I trust that Bucs defense. I still, even though he's not look like the same guy this year so far, I still trust Tom Brady to get the job done. Okay? So that being said, it's a pick 'em. Give me the Bucs to win outright, to cover all that. So give me the Bucs over Green Bay. Again, Green Bay team, I don't know how good they are. Look, they're like crap against the Vikings week 1. Week 2, they play the Bears. The Bears suck. Stop. The Bears suck. All right? Be real. All right? And finally, I like, to shock some folks here, but I like the Washington Commanders to actually on the points here to keep this game competitive against the Eagles. It's a NFC East slobber knocker. It's a divisional game. It's in Washington. Look, the Eagles go on the flowers and deserve it. I said on top of the show, they might be the best team in the NFC. But that doesn't mean that Washington can't play this game close. 7.5 points is a lot of points against the divisional opponent. Give me the Commanders here on the points here. I think the Commanders will actually keep this game relatively close. Now, I do like the Eagles win this game overall. They're a better team. It wasn't a question that. But we're talking gambling here. Okay? So, again, the over on Bills-Dolphins for 3.5. I like the Lions +6 in Minnesota. The Bengals at 4.5 points to cover in New York with the Jets. The Bucks straight up to win. It's a pick 'em. And I like the Commanders against Philadelphia Eagles at 7.5 points, +7.5 points at home against the Eagles. That's your picks of the week. Again, 5-5 for the year. A little bit of a mediocre start out the gate. But we're gonna get things squared away here on the gambling side going forward. College football, it's back, of course. And look, it's been a fun year so far, a couple weeks in. But in the end, it's been the same old. We know what it is. We know that in the end, it's going to be all about Georgia, who's right now the best team in college football. No one's debating that at all. Okay, it's Georgia, boom, 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 Ohio State, 2, then Alabama, and who almost lost Texas, but okay, and then Michigan. The AP poll has got it right. But there's a couple of games I'm really interested in watching this weekend. Obviously, the game, Florida against Tennessee. Florida's not good anymore. It's not that good. But Tennessee, we'll see if they can be a threat in the SEC going forward. That's a big game this weekend. I think the Arkansas A&M game also. Again, SEC always comes through. It's been a fun year to some degree. Last week was a weird schedule. A&M and Miami was the biggest game of the week, and obviously A&M won that game. But in the end, we just know what's what. In the end, we know that it's all about, Georgia right now. Georgia is putting on a show. Georgia has been the best team out the gate. And to me, I think if you're picking Georgia to field going forward, honestly, I have a hard time saying go against Georgia. I think Georgia, if they play, I don't know if they play Alabama this year or not. I haven't seen the schedule. But if and when they do, I think Georgia would not only win that game, they might dominate. Honestly, Georgia just looks that good. And I think a lot of it, too, also the fact they came into the year a little underrated, too, especially, and I think they'll handle their business, obviously. So, but same old. Like I said, at the end of the day, same old. I mean, obviously, USC's back on the back in the top 10, and you have Arkansas and Tennessee's, and a couple good stories here and there. But in the end, we know it's going to come down to the same old of the Georgias, of the Bamas, and Ohio State, and maybe get a surprise as a fourth there, maybe. We had last year Cincinnati, but who knows? So, talk about baseball quick. It's funny. We're back with sports is back now. Football's back across the board. Everybody's loving football. Basketball in the corner. But right now, the best individual stories right now in sports are in baseball. And they're Albert Pujols and Aaron Judge. Albert Pujols, I think, is now 2 away from 700 home runs. He has reiterated he's still retiring after the end of the year. I don't know why he would do that, but maybe he wants to be home with family. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not trying to be nosy there. It's a great story, obviously. Aaron Judge, 1 away from 61. He has 60 home runs now, 1 away from tying the American League record, tying Roger Maris. It's amazing how baseball right now, for all the talk about baseball not being relevant on a national stage, the 2 best stories going on right now in sports are in that genre. The Pujols story is fantastic. The Aaron Judge thing is fantastic. And the Aaron Judge thing is going to be even more fantastic and even more intriguing when we get out of the year because he's a free agent, okay? He turned down a $250 million deal from the Yankees. They offered him last year. He turned it down. There was no counter offer whatsoever. His free agency is going to be fascinating because it actually mirrors Albert Pujols' situation from 10 years ago when he decided to go to leave St. Louis and go play with the Angels because of the age. Obviously, Judge wants a long-term deal, But here's the thing: he's 30 years old. He'll be 31 years old next year. Okay, wherever he's playing, whether it's in New York or wherever it may be. Do you pay a guy a long-term contract like you did a Bryce Harper who's younger, like you did a Mike Trout who's younger at the time? Do you give Judge that same type of deal? That's a challenge. And also for a guy also too that, let's face it, for what he does, I think you saw him slip by 34, 35 years old. So you're probably paying for the front end. So this is going to be a major battle between Judge and and the Yankees and whoever decides to pay. Here's the problem: the Yankees though they have, for as big as the Yankees are and all that, there will be a team who will pay for Judge and not give a shit about the back end of that contract. They'll deal with it when they deal with it. I know the Mets will probably end up would try. I know the team out west probably will try. San Francisco Giants will probably try to do that. Who knows? Maybe the Red Sox comes under there and decides to get involved. So I think there is no guarantee that Judge is back with the Yankees next year. There's no guarantee. Because the Yankees are stout on not paying him long term. Someone will. So if you're a Yankee fan, I'd be very, 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 very worried about losing Aaron Judge after this year. And especially if you guys, and here's the worst part. I'm a Met fan, obviously, so I don't want this to happen. But let's say the Yankees go to the World Series and win the World Series and Judge the best player going, is the reason why that it happens. The Yankees have no leverage. And there will be a mutiny from Yankee fans if he's the guy that brings the Yankees their first championship in over 10, 11 years. Since 2009. There will be a mutiny with that fan base. Believe it. Some basketball news here and some shocking news that came out this morning. Ime Udoka, coach of the Celtics, might be out for the season due to having an inappropriate relationship with a team staffer. Okay, so you guys know Ime Udoka is also married or dating or whatever. Maybe I don't know he's married, but he's with or dating Nia Long, actress Nia Long. They've been together a long time. I was thinking about this too, and I saw the story drop. I'm like, is that kind of excessive for a guy? Okay, look, I get the fact that it was a relationship. Obviously, it was consensual, and that's it was being said to the press too that the relationship was consensual. But does it feel excessive that he can miss out an entire season, possibly get fired? Who knows, for having an inappropriate relationship? Now, obviously, this is not a league matter. This is a team matter. It's been stated it's a team matter. But it does feel excessive, in my opinion. But again, he's also in a position of power, so maybe that's one of the reasons why this is being treated as such. This is a big deal for the Celtics. He had a fantastic rookie season last year for the Celtics, take him to the NBA Finals and whatnot. So this is a big deal for the Celtics here. We'll see how that turns out. It's not official yet that he's out for the year, but that's what the rumors are, is that they are leaning towards suspending for the entire season. Could this impact the East in terms of the standings? Coaching obviously matters, but I think the Boston Celtics have enough talent. I think their bench is, I think the staff is good enough maybe to hold the ship down. Maybe you see Brad Stevens come down and coach a year. I doubt that, but who knows? But we'll see. Maybe there's more to this story that we don't know as to why this is most likely going to be the penalty for Ime Udoka's situation. Speaking of the NBA, like I said, I've been watching the Lakers documentary on Hulu. Fantastic, continues to be fantastic. Episode 6 and 7. Episode 6 focused on Kobe and Shaq. The build there, that was great. It gets into the early playoff failures in 97, 98, the 99, and then finally they over the hump in 2000 to get Phil Jackson to come out of retirement, and then they win the title in 2000. Obviously, they also backed up with the Genie Bus continuing to rise in the rankings of the of the family business, all that. Episode 7, they focused on the three-peat. The only thing that bothered me about this episode, though, was that I wish they went into more detail about the three-peat, about the title championship teams, because they go right from the winning the title in episode 6, the first title in over a decade, okay, and then they don't get into the 15-1 run. They don't get into that, which is actually again one of the greatest playoff runs in history of sports. They lost one single game the entire playoff run. They swept the Spurs, they swept every team to the finals, and then lost one game to Allen Iverson, who had a heroic performance in Game 1 of that finals. They don't get into more detail on that, and that's a little disappointing. They talk about of course, the Bus family dynamic, of course, with Jeannie again continuing to rise, and the divide and the differences between herself and the brothers, and how they don't get along, and they don't talk to each other much, all that. And then, of course, Dr. Bus wants to start, pulling away from the business a little bit now and focus on other things. Obviously, the big story on this is the Shaq Kobe drama and how that goes. This episode goes right into pretty much the end of the 2004 finals when they lose to the Pistons in 5 games. Kobe's legal issues with Colorado and the rape case, which he got through. You know, the funny thing is I'm learning things during this episode too that I didn't know back then, because around this time, between 2001 and 2004-ish, I did take a step back with sports a little bit. At that time, I started playing music in the band. At that time, I was doing a lot of shows and in the studio a lot, so sports wasn't my number one priority at the time. So there's a lot of things that like in the Kobe Shaq thing, I was not really astute to at the time until I got back into it and learning even today. But again, you guys gotta watch the documentary. I was telling a couple of friends also, mutual friends also, that are Laker fans that haven't watched it yet. That you got to watch it. The only thing that bothered me about episode 7 really was that I wish they went into more detail about the Kobe Shaq stuff, and especially the three-peat. They kind of skipped over the details leading into the three-peats. They go straight to the finals in 2001. They go straight to the finals in 2002, and then that's it. They barely get into the Shaq thing with him not wanting to have surgery on his foot. They skip some parts there. I don't know why. Obviously, they're telling multiple stories, not just on the court, but off the court with the Buss family as well too. So you want to kind of respect that as well too. But again, still a must watch. Honestly, it's a fantastic documentary. Please go watch it. Some wrestling news here. If we get out of here, CM Punk report came out today. CM Punk not expected to return to AEW. Honestly, that's a good thing, because I'll be totally honest and transparent with you right now. I've been watching the Dynamites the last couple weeks since the alleged incident that happened after the All Out pay-per-view earlier on Labor Day weekend. Watching Dynamite the last couple weeks, they don't need him. They really don't. And if he's that much of a negative influence in the locker room, and he's that much of a problem, to Tony Khan and just doing what he wants and say what he wants to say, you don't need him. And I'm watching the product. Honestly, the AEW roster right now, for all the shit I give Tony Khan about booking, for all the shit I give about AEW at times, and I love AEW for record. I still watch the product. So if I'm being critical of AEW, it's coming from a place of, I don't want to say love, but a place of constructive criticism. They don't need CM Punk. CM Punk has not moved the needle for me, honestly. And I say as a guy that when CM Punk made his rise in WWE between 2007 and 2014, I wasn't watching the product back then. So I knew who he was, but everything I saw in hindsight. But you hear the stories about him being a bit of an issue in the locker room, a bit of a diva, and then you see this stuff play out not even a full year into his AEW stint. Okay, he's a name. He's a big name. He's important to the history of wrestling. But does he move the needle? And I'm watching the AEW product right now and the roster I have currently right now. He really doesn't. I don't miss him at all. He's great on the stick. I give him that. He's great on the stick. His feud with MJF was fantastic. But for the last 4 or 5 months, to me, the whole thing with Punk went downhill when they gave him the title at Double or Nothing in May. He should have taken the fall against Hangman Page. Okay, the fact they stopped Hangman Page's rise for Punk, that's a bad move. It's a bad move, and now you're paying for it now too, especially. So he's not moving the needle for me personally. Look, if he came back, whatever, I'm not gonna say no, I'm not gonna watch him. But is he needed? No, he's not. He's not. He doesn't move the needle for me either way. There are other people in that company I care more about than CM Punk. I care about MJF. If he loses MJF, that's a big deal for me. Okay, I care about the Bryan Danielson. I care about Moxley. I care, John Moxley. I care about those guys. Those guys to me move the needle for me when I want to watch. Hangman Page, I care about. Okay, they need to. Tony Khan. I know Tony Khan has this thing where he's so focused on bringing these old WWE guys and for them to rise and whatnot. But at the end of the day, your pillars we're gonna make your company going forward. Your pillars are gonna be our Darby Allins. Your pillars are gonna be MJF. Your pillars are gonna be Hangman Page. Those guys. Focus on making those guys stars before they go away. Because remember, Vince is gone now. So the WWE now looks to a lot of wrestlers a whole lot attractive now than it did before the summer, before Vince's retirement. Because Hunter's doing a great job up in Stanford. So Tony Khan better watch out. Okay, better watch out. So, Roman Reigns, Logan Paul is going to happen at the next Saudi show, which is November. I thought it was October. It's November actually. A lot of people complain about this match. Why is Logan Paul getting a title match against Roman Reigns? Who cares? He's telling a big story. He ain't beating Roman Reigns. This is for the mainstream. This is a Saudi show. Saudi shows are always going to be overglorified house shows anyway. Who cares? It's all about getting eyeballs to the product. This is not for the wrestling fans that watch week to week. Okay, I'm going to watch the match. It's probably going to be a really good match. I think Logan Paul, to his credit, and I am not a Logan Paul fan as a person, but what he has done, and you can tell he's putting the work in. You can tell he's putting the work in, to work at this company. I think they're going to put on a good show, honestly. And of course, you watch the Roman, one of the greatest things ever. This is why Roman is going to be a legacy guy going forward. You saw when they announced this, the press conference they did last week about that. Roman gets it, dude. Roman just gets it. Roman has a way of words. He does this, I keep saying this. It's the things that made Hogan great, that made, Austin great, that made, all the greats. He does the little things well. The little things. And he draws you in. He makes you, like, something like Roman Reigns and Logan Paul wouldn't be interesting to a lot of people. But the build to the match, I think, he'll make it interesting for you because he is who he is. Because Roman is one of the all-time greats now. Roman is now climbing that ladder into that. I wouldn't put him Mount Rushmore all-time WWE, but I think in the years to come, in about 5 years, whatever, to come, we'll be having that conversation because what he's doing as a heel was even more impressive. To do it as a heel is amazing. Again, I don't know when this tolerance is going to end. Maybe WrestleMania next year, maybe beyond that. Who knows? But he's building it in a way where it's actually different. And I wish people appreciate this more, especially. Because what he's doing here is fantastic. It really is. So that's going to be the Saudi show in November. It's going to tell a bigger story, obviously. Okay, 2 more things to get out here. House of Dragon, the Game of Thrones prequel is out on HBO. Been meaning to watch it. I started watching it first like 20 minutes of it. My wife and I started watching it last week. Decided to put it aside for now because this is the wrong time of year to get me to invest in a show that requires my full attention. I want to watch it, but right now my brain is elsewhere. Football's back. Basketball's come back next month. Hockey's come back soon. There's so much going on. Baseball playoffs. The Mets are in first place. I don't need distractions. This is a show you need to focus on. So I decided, my wife and I, she actually agreed. We decided to wait until probably when the season ends, when things start calming down on the sports side, of course. I need something that's simple and easy. So I might watch Cobra Kai instead, or catch up on She-Hulk instead, because there's just too much going on right now that having a show that requires my full attention, not a good thing right now. So I decided to put House of Dragons to the side for now. So, but it looks good. But I just need that that show demands and deserves really my full attention. So. One more thing we got out of here. You've seen a lot of national coverage the last couple weeks about the Queen, the Queen of England passing away last week, a couple weeks ago rather, and the funeral, and that was on all over every station, of course. I mean, look, I people ask my opinion about the whole thing. Look, it's obviously sad she passed away. She was 96 years old. She lived a very long life, but it's just like I guess I do care to some degree, but I also don't care. I'm surprised that the United States media is putting as much coverage it has to this thing, considering all the crap we have going on right now in this country. We're actually in election season. We got midterms a couple months, of course, and yet we're putting all this time into the Queen's funeral. I don't get it. I do feel some type of way about it, but I don't understand why all this energy towards a funeral of someone has nothing to do with American politics or even Americana in general. I'm not saying not to care about it, but it's the excessive coverage. I don't get it. I don't know. If I'm an asshole or a dick for saying this, then so be it. But I don't get it. So anyway, that's it for me. Long-ish show today, but glad I got it done. Of course, I am on Twitter at EJChris7, Earnestly Podcast, Earnestly Speaking Podcast on YouTube. Please subscribe to the YouTube page. We're doing a lot of stuff there. We got a lot of stuff coming up on this feed as well, too. A couple other concepts and stuff we'll be working on very soon. Some are returning, actually. But until then, talk to you guys later. God bless y'all. Enjoy football this weekend. And good luck with your picks also, too, especially. So talk to you guys later.